Hey, what's up, Sag? I've got some company over, so I'm probably going to be a little quiet here. But welcome to this general reading. All the typical disclaimers are assumed. All of the non-typical disclaimers are asserted. I'm not responsible for you misusing the truth imparted by this message if it is not meant for you. Make sure you check the timestamps below for fast forwarding to relevant parts of the reading. And make sure you check the conclusion section if you'd like to get to the gist of the message. So with this Five of Wands reversed, we're looking at some kind of confliction not serving properly. Dang. And it's very likely a confliction that is unjust and lacking in valor. So this conflict is supposed to be providing a healing, but for some reason that healing can't take place. And part of the reason the healing can't take place is because the stand is being made upon some faulty ground. And as long as that is the case, there will be an inability to actually achieve things with these individuals. Knight of Wands reversed, that can be you. If you're a young adult. A younger adult, perhaps. A lot of negative energy, so I do apologize for that. Some kind of group, there's some kind of group conflict that is required for growth that is not taking place. That conflict would be for producing the better effects necessary for success, but for whatever reason that instance is not occurring. I'm actually curious to get some clarifiers for this particular reading. There's also the option that sometimes this can represent the tribulation being resisted from happening. Like somebody is either somebody or just the culture is in general is afraid of having that hard discussion. Either that or there's the other thing is sometimes for this particular type of conflict to go forth, there have to be winners and losers because someone's ideas have to get put down for the better idea. And that can create an environment in certain situations where there's resistance to having this. There's resistance to having this conflict emerge in a healthy fashion. It's disappointing though because with the Seven of Wands following it in reverse, that's a sign of standing on faulty ground, thinking you have the moral high ground, but you in fact do not. So it's a mixed sign of this lack of ability to, or whatever the source of this resistance is not very righteous. A lot of fire energy here. Knight of Wands reversed and Queen of Wands reversed. And all of this is in the reverse energy for you, so I'm a little disappointed to hear that, of course. Reverse Queen of Wands can they are somebody who would be both of these individuals, in fact, a Queen of Wands reversed and a Knight of Wands reversed. Both of them, when they're in that insecure and toxic energy, are individuals that would be prone to not they would be prone to putting people down in this fashion, in fact. Which isn't a great sign. Because they're... So, like, essentially it's sort of speaking to the idea that their internal weakness, in fact, is part of why this conflict isn't taking place. And they're even Wands energies, so like all of this Wands energy is very career focused. With Lovers reversed as well, that's sort of a sign of internal dissociation. Not being able to receive intuitive quality properly. Since it's talking about these surrounding cards of the career space, not being able to connect with individuals in your career, and then three of it, all of that energy is the other reality is it's yielding Three of Pentacles reverse, which is a failure to achieve within a group setting. So it's this toxicity is derailing the company effect, the strength of the group's ability to achieve. It's too bad that we have these toxic individuals on the end here. Both of which are fire energies, though. And maybe toxic isn't the exact correct way to say it, but perhaps insecure. There's some kind of insecurity in them. And then their behaviors can yield to sort of, they can kind of devolve into bullies, so to speak. They can devolve into individuals that will shut down other people. And they'll act upon that. I have another wand energy here for you. So very fiery reading, for sure. So now we're looking at I'm not quite sure about this Eight of Wands, so I'm going to start clarifying against the cards here. Whoops, looks like that was a little off there. So except for this Eight of Wands on the end, all are reversed energy. And once again, I do apologize that I'm not managing to articulate very well right now. I've got my anxiety is triggered. Wheel of Fortune. So that's a sign that you are. Fate itself is trying to get this to turn around with great haste. Like divinity, entire power is trying to deal with this for you. Or not really deal with it, but it is trying to point to a change of, definitely a change of pace. It's signaling that that fate's working in the background to help with the situation. So maybe you are not as in control of this as you would like to be, and fate can see that. It is kind of turn the energy. It is sort of signifying it's turning around the energy, though. Interesting clarifier for Eight of Wands here. Okay, so not a bad spread for 10 minutes, 11 minutes. 8 cards. Alright, so now we're looking at... This is just very simple. This Queen of Wands is failing to stabilize their internal world properly. But for the following the Wheel of Fortune, maybe that's part of what fate is trying to help you out with. Maybe that's what fate needs from you, or from this Queen of Wands, is to... Fate can't do it all by themselves. They do need some co-participation from this Queen. But that means the Queen needs to get over this. They need to get over this sort of internal disresonance, which is also kind of what the Lovers in reverse is signifying, that the internal resonance is out of place, and that can make the Queen become insecure and make her become toxic to a certain extent. This particular Queen is capable of emotional blackmailing. They're capable of putting their feelings, making other people bear the responsibility of their bad feelings by making them feel bad, trying to shut down who they are, undercut them. But that all is going to not serve the whatever this career situation is. It's a key source of the inability to see the truth, which is why this conflict can't occur, and the situation cannot grow out of it. And I'm not sure if that's you or not, since just because there's this Knight of Wands and Queen of Wands, so they're both in the toxic position, though. They're both in the insecure positions, which means they're not pleasant individuals to be around. Their power interferes with other people. Their actions are unpleasant. This is the bottom line, basically. And people don't really want to be treated in those ways. They're not going to find it very constructive. And they're not going to want to contribute to dealing with achieving these things. Dang. So now this Knight of Wands, this is more of an insecurity due to the fact that they haven't achieved this material success. So due to their inability to achieve this material success, they don't have a proper shield against the negative emotional blackmail of this Queen of Wands, actually. So this Knight of Wands sort of what this is pointing to is that this Queen of Wands is responsible for toxifying this Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands, I'm not sure if they're responsible for delivering this material abundance or what, but when they don't have the material abundance, these put-downs from the Queen of Wands can disrupt their internal world. And that destroys their ability to actually achieve the success they're looking for. And they don't have the ability, sort of what this is suggesting is this Knight of Wands, they don't have the ability to guard themselves from the toxicness of the Queen, and that creates the inability to achieve this material success. because it takes away the Knight's power to actually create these things. So it's sort of what I was suggesting with the Queen of Wands. That points a lot more to the Queen of Wands being the source of this tribulation. Because higher authority so maybe it's a subordinate of the Knight. The Knight might be a subordinate of the Queen. But they are in a weird place right now because Nine of Pentacles reverse definitely. I think it should be much. You should feel much better than that at 9 Pentacles, much better. And if you don't have that defense of the upright 9 of Pentacles, you're more susceptible to being self-destructed. So it's a good sign this Knight of Wands is definitely being destroyed by this Queen of Wands. And at the same time, the Queen of Wands is saying everything's your fault. And they're not seeing how they are, in fact, their put-downs are, in fact, not empowering the Knight of Wands. Which means that the Queen of Wands bears some responsibility for this. This idea that the Queen of Wands doesn't bear any responsibility is not true. But they're in this precarious position where they're, like, getting away with making everything else everyone else's fault. Which is exactly why this Queen of Wands is in reverse and not in the upright. So they'll keep getting it the same until they can stabilize their internal world differently and move out of this toxic behavior. This insecure behavior. So that's kind of interesting here. Now that could shape it up more for you depending on if you are the Queen of Wands or Knight of Wands, whichever position you're in here. So excuse me while I try and clear out these last 4 clarifiers. Definitely an interesting notion on being disempowered. I like 8 cards dropped there. Nine of Cups after this, interesting. So that's a little... So it's like kind of an interesting notion of happiness. Maybe even smugness. Smug at the defeat. Smug at the inability for things to come together. Being happy in that lack of success. That's very strange. Usually this card would signify a little bit more happiness in general, but in this particular reading, it's symbolizing happiness, but the surrounding energy is not something that an individual should be happy about. All negative surrounding energy. So this individual is happy about this surrounding toxicity. That is very disappointing. But it's exactly what, once again, these reverse Queen of Wands, Knight of Wands, if they're just toxic enough, they would be happy for this, all of this. So that's very, very unfortunate. And Knight of Swords in reverse, that's jackass energy, so like, it matches the Knight of Wands. Bully, that's more of a verbal bully. Even though it can also exist through action to a certain extent, that's about verbal put-downs. and oftentimes douchebag energy. Clarifying the Lovers in reverse, like, and then once again, it's very strange how all of these five surrounding this happiness card are negative. Like, that's that is exactly who deserves to get helped by absolutely nobody. Not a single soul deserves to waste their time on you. If you're sick enough to be happy about all this negativity. It's just very unlikely that this work situation would work out if this is how people are going to be treated in that environment. So yeah, I don't know. Dang. Now we're looking at Six of Cups reversed. There's even like a nostalgia issue here. Dreaming about the past, but like letting some kind of toxic emotionality about the past deter your valor and break your ability to stand on stronger footing. And that's just more of the same here. And it's even surrounded by the Knight of Swords now, so like yeah, I don't, this is all clarifying quite well. It's just like somebody is almost comfortable in being toxic. They're happy in their toxicity. And that toxicity has some ties to like putting other people down is a big part of it. Not allowing other people to rise up properly is a piece of it. But there's this, it has consequences of failure to achieve properly in groups situations, career and material, whether or not they're combined. And it's saying that the ground that's being stood on is not valid ground at the end of the day. Which is strange, because if the individual feels so bad to act like this, why are they so happy at the same time? Very mixed heart here. So I'm curious who this is representing, because got a couple different energies here now. It's going to take a real change of heart here if somebody's even interested in overcoming this. Fate would be there, but it's going to take a real change of character. So I'm going to try and get some final clarification for this Five of Wands reversed. And I can probably call this reading because it's pretty straightforward at this point. And the Emperor came out. So that's weird. It's Aries energy. I mean, it's almost speaking to a... You know, the memory is about a father figure. Or maybe not a father figure, but the memory is about a masculine... There's masculine presence in the memory. And whatever this negative memory is. And... there's also the... There's a good shot then that the... whomever that's about isn't around anymore to like deal with this confliction. And maybe their leadership was what was riding the ship, but now that they are gone, it's turned into this negativism, this inability to... It's just been like a devolution in the workplace, or a devolution in the whatever the career setting is due to the lack of this leader. And at the end of the day, if they're gone, the universe wants you to do something about your now. And to do that, there's character things that have to change. Toxicities that have to be let go of. Otherwise, it's just going to be all this lack of success. Lack of career and material success despite weirdly feeling happy about the failure. Which is such a spite form. It's such a negative energy. To be legitimately pleased with the failure of others. That is... I don't have a curse for what is deserved for acting like that. That is strong enough. But it looks like it's already created a curse for them anyway. They're already failing at every step. They're failing at every step except for this sickened internal stability over all of this ridiculousness. And an emperor wants nothing to do with any of that. They're too busy trying to bring the Nine of Pentacles to their knights, not keep them trapped out of it. They want to see their people not be hoisted up upon on emotional blackmail for their own well-being and their good. So I'm proud this Emperor has left you behind, or left this situation behind, because there's so much toxicity in this mix. Or maybe you're the Emperor that left someone else behind, but the Emperor is Aries energy. The Sagittarius energies are the reverse energies, unfortunately. So I don't know what part you play in this, but somebody who literally acts like this, I am proud that you would be left by this Emperor. I'm proud. You deserve to be left behind. Nobody deserves to be your emotional sponge. There's no other way I can slice it for you. So I'm sorry about that, but if this is like actually you somehow, there's a good shot that you wouldn't even be here listening to this if it was, because somebody this toxic isn't interested in being any better. So the idea that you're here getting better is hard to believe if this is how negative you are. But maybe you're here. Maybe this is resonating with you. Maybe you're somebody who's under the boot of this energy, in which case you hopefully will have a better way to kind of face this energy. Maybe you're looking at it completely from the outside and you see all the elements, in which case you can feel the resonance in that regard. That's also an option. The heaviest option is if you're somebody doing this. Maybe there's some resonance, maybe it's not as toxic as I'm suggesting, maybe it's more about the insecurity. It's just very strange how it's like this much negativity making somebody happy is not a good thing. Especially when they're so focused on how bad the past was. That should make them feel bad, not good. It's weird. Nine of Cups should be reversed. They should be feeling a more toxic energy, but being trapped in that is not good. It's not good to be trapped in that energy. But if you somehow weirdly feel good about it, that's very strange. It's definitely the most interesting part of this reading. So much of this is negative. And I don't see it as like a rising above the situations and feeling happy anyway. That's not what I'm seeing here. Alright, Sagittarius, I'm going to end the reading at that. I'm not sure who this is for. Looks like it could be for a few types. This one's tough. This one's tough for whomever you are, because you have to change who you are, or you're going to keep getting the same consequences. So I hope that you can make the difference. More for the people who have to be affected by you being like this than yourself, really. I hope it works out for yourself too, but there's probably way too many people getting affected by you than deserve it. So I hope that can get rattled out here. And if you're somebody getting used by this individual, get the hell out of there. It's more than just... I'm not sure how else to describe it. I feel like I've driven the point home a few times now. That's what you've got to do. So I don't know where you are at in this, but I hope that this resonates, and I hope that this gets through to you, and I hope you can do some good with it. So thank you very much.